Everyone, am I audible? Please give me on chat if I'm audible. Sushant, we'll start in 2 more minutes. Welcome everyone who's joining. Let me share my screen. Please let me know once my screen is visible. Please use chats. Be interactive, everyone. Okay, let me give a brief. So this is our day 3 in this bootcamp. What already we have covered? We have covered our basics. Basics of AI. We have covered introduction of AI, and in the second part, we completed a Gemini assignment. Feel free to put your questions on the chat and Zoom call here. I'll be monitoring the chat and I'll be answering your questions. Okay. So today we are going to start with the further agenda that we have, which is image reading, prompt engineering techniques, VLMs, that is vision language models, and then we'll also see a calorie tracker prompt. And finally, I'll also show you how you can freely use Hugging Face as your VLMs. So this is our day 3, day 1 and 2 we already covered, and we are left with 2 more days. This is our second last one. Okay. So again, as we already saw how we can use the data in Collab, we can use the key button. From the key button here, we can give all the secrets. We can access toggle on and off for our notebook access. We can give the names of our keys and we can fetch those keys here in our code. So suppose I have a Hugging Face token which I'll be using. That token can be fetched here in this notebook using this Google Colab library. Sounds good? As we can saw for our Azure deployment, we are using 4.1 library. Here we have, first we'll start with the GPT images, how we can read images in Python. Further, before going to our model, further going before to our AI, we'll see how we can read images in the Python. For that, we can use Pillow library, that is PIL. I have an biryani image with me, which URL we are going to use and put or feed this URL or feed this image specifically to our AI. So first here we can see this is the URL. We can get the response. We have our image in bytes. So to see the image here in Google Colab, so I can see past videos I have. So Akhil, if you cannot attended the previous classes, there is a YouTube channel of EdiGlobe where you can see these recordings. So there are two recordings there which you can see and then you can continue from today's class. Hope it answered your question, Akhil. Please give me a yes or no chat. Awesome. Okay, let's use Willow's library here where we can display our image. We put our response, we put that response into image library, we open the bytes, we read that, and here we can see this is how our biryani image looks like. Further, we are going to feed this image into our OpenAI or our AI. But before jumping on to that, first let's talk about prompt engineering techniques here. Anyone here who knows already what prompt engineering is? One knows what prompt engineering is? Muskan, to answer your question, there is this channel link. Let me share that channel link on the chat. You can go there and you can see in the past live streams, you will have those details. Okay. So prompt engineering is basically you have your chat GPT, right? You chat with the GPT with some user input. With that user input, chat GPT takes some things and comes back with an output with yourself, right? Now, the better the prompt you put, the better responses you will get from GPT. A lot of the times we always blame the language, we always blame the algorithm that GPT-5 is better, GPT-4 is better. But majority of the time, your prompt engineering is the one key factor by which you will define the accuracy or the quality of the responses. The more better your prompt is, the more better your answers will. Let's see the formal definition of prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a practice of designing and refining prompts to effectively communicate with your LLMs. So a very common slang in prompt engineering is garbage in, garbage out. If your prompt is not that good, it will not give you that good of results. Jishandeep is saying it's a linguistic approach where we can get maximum output from a given prompt. Jishandeep, can you explain what do you mean by maximum output? What does that mean? Let's move on. He's typing probably. Okay, basic structure of a prompt. So today I'll show you how better or how good quality prompts can be written. So basic structure of a prompt is where you give some context, you give instructions, you give an output and an out, or you give an input and an out. Context basically means your background information for the task. Suppose you want to do an assignment. Now, how do you want to do an assignment? You want to do an assignment as maybe in a specific format. maybe in JSON, you want to do in collab notebook. So all those informations will become your context. For example, here we have you're an expert data analyst. So basically we ask the chat GPT to behave like an expert data analyst. So in our second class, we already saw, right, how we can give personality to our agents. Similarly, this is where we define the personality of our agent. What we want to get from the GPT from the prompt. Yes, correct. So when you say maximum output, that means the quality of the output we want or how close it can return what we want. Okay, good. Instruction. So instruction is what you want the model to do. So given the CSV data below, you can summarize the trend in cells. This is what we wanted as an instruction, or this is what the instruction we gave to our model. Then we have input. We'll give some data input here, whatever we want to do, or which data we want to do some changes. That is what our input will be. And finally, an output format as how we want that format to be. We want it in a bullet points. We want it in great detail. We want it in great explanations. And in some complex scenarios, if you are designing some APIs or some microservices architectures, there you will define these outputs more of like how the application will accept them. Let me rephrase that. So when you have a microservices architecture in an application, what happens there is you have an API or that microservice is expecting a response in a certain format. So from your AI, you will return that format to that function. That is where output format helps a lot. Okay. Next, we have our prompt engineering techniques. There are multiple prompt engineering techniques. First is role prompting, where we give our AI or our chat GPT or our model a specific personality. Then we have a few shot prompting. In few shot, we give it some examples that boss, this is your input, this is your output, this is how we want. We'll give the LLM some of the examples how we want an output. Suppose we want to build a AI agent on top of maybe some JSON data, right? Now, how the AI will understand that JSON data? So for that, we can define some input and outputs, and based on that, it will return those. Ritika is saying send the notes, sir. Ritika, I hope you are mentioning about this Google Colab file. Unfortunately, I won't be sharing this collab file with all of you. You can take these notes, you can write these codes. I don't want to give you a pre-built file where you just run the cells and learn it. Write every single piece of code with yourself. Listen in the class, listen in the session, but don't copy what I am doing. Do it your own. That is why I won't be sharing the collab notebooks. Yep. Another prompting techniques is a zero shot prompting. Again, this is not something that is very much commonly used. Mostly few shot is used. Zero shot is basically where we just ask the LLM to do a task for us. Chain of thought, again, for complicated scenarios, where we explain, like we give our input, we give our output, and we also give a reasoning that how we have achieved that output. We also give that reasoning. That is what your chain of thought prompting is. Most of the cases, prompting is used in cases where we want to use some or solve some mathematical problems via AI. Then we have instruction tuning where we can use some imperative commands. So as a best practice, we always say that use imperative commands or use positive signals to your LLM. Don't use a lot of negative signals for your LLM. It doesn't work a lot. Great. So that's good. Okay. Then we have some prompt patterns. We have a Q&A prompt. What is the capital of France? So we can get some result. Then there are some classification prompts. We can have some classification scenarios which we want to solve. We'll give the text and we'll have the sentiment here. So there can be other types of classifications. I'll let the classifications to be explored by yourself. Then we have some information extraction. Information extraction is basically where we give the prompt, we ask the LLM to extract some information from that. That is what your extraction or information extraction is. Then there is something called as multi-turn dialogue setup, where we give or we role play with our LLM. We give it a specific role and we ask the LLM to respond in that specific or certain way. So it's good. Feel free to ask any questions, any doubts if anyone has, or if anyone is doing any projects, feel free to share here with your peers. It will help you gain little more visibility here. Okay, then there are some best practices. Use clear and ambiguous prompts, specify your output formats if possible, define the role, break complex tasks. This is your chain of thought. And then you can use some examples, which is called few shot learning or FSL. Common mistakes that usually people face in prompting is being too vague or generic. So if you are not very clear with your instructions, your response will not be that great. Expecting a correct output without giving any context. So if you are asking a GPT to analyze some data, and if you are not saying that you are a data analyst or you're a data scientist, it will challenge or it will give based on the generic form. It will not give you how you wanted your data or answer to. You should not also mix multiple instructions. So ideally what this means is you should not mix and match your responses. One way you are saying you're a data analyst and another way you're saying give me a response like a data scientist. So you should not say that as you are a data analyst and give me an ML algorithm. So that is not how it will work greatly. And for output constraints, this depends on what application you are feeding this output into. There are some good resources. I can share these links here. You can go to this GitHub file. This is an OpenAI cookbook which you can use, where there you will see a lot of prompt techniques that are there. You can also see a prompt engineering guide. Again, this is a very instructed guide where you can see a lot of prompt engineering techniques. Like right now, a lot of React prompting is also getting used in industry. And actual industry, in your interviews, you might get questions based on the React prompting. Let me share that as well in the chat. Then let's go to LangChain. Okay. Anyone here who is working with LangChain? Just a curious question. Okay. Start exploring LangChain if you have not done anything with that. A sample prompt. This is the master prompt. You can use it as it is. You can say act as a specific role. This is your task. You can give the data, give the instructions, and you can give some output constraints if there are. So this you can use as a master prompt. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this. For any further in future, if you are doing anything with ChatGPT, you can use this prompt and you'll see a drastic difference in the results how GPT responds. Like if you're asking, explain me something about AI, and apart from that, if you give a prompt like this, the response will be very different. Then you have a practice opportunity that BlackRock is an equity firm that is using financial reports and they have something. Basically, what you want to do is draft a prompt that classifies the CEO's tone, optimistic, cautious, and concerning based on key phrases. Design that prompt to have the context and the output indicators for your reports. So let me share this practice opportunity. If you to practice this, try to create a prompt for yourself. Consider it more like your homework for this. Sounds good. Any questions on prompt engineering? After that, we'll move our image recognition model. Then, if no questions, we'll give you 1 to 2 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can put it on chat. Okay. No questions. Then let's go further. You can perform image recognition using Hugging Face. The reason I'm giving Hugging Face or I'm showing you Hugging Face is because it's free. If you go to OpenAI, if you go to LangChain, LangChain uses OpenAI again. But all of these are paid tools. OpenAI asks you to give some $5 or something to be there to use it. The reason I have curated these examples with Hugging Face is because it's free and you can use it easily. That is why I gave you the Gemini assignment on the second day, because Gemini is again free and Hugging Face is also free. Rest all are paid, and I would not recommend students to use those paid options yet. Okay. So first of all, we'll install these two libraries. These two libraries are used for your GPT usage in Collab. That is the reason I'm using these. And from there, you can go to a transformers library where you can install the model called as DeepSeek V1. How you can do that is you can create a pipeline in transformers model. You can say the task is image text to text, and then you can use device. So device is basically, again, it tells you either you are using a GPU or a CPU, and then you can use a data type as float 16 for your torch environment. But yeah, mainly here the crucial part is that we'll be using a DeepSeek 1.113 billion parameters chat variable. If you don't want to use this, because this is a 4 GB download, so you have to download 4 GB of data. If you don't want to do this, I'll show you a simpler or easier alternative as well in just couple of minutes. For now, it takes like 5 to 10 minutes for you to get downloaded. Once it has downloaded, it will load this model into your collab, into your device here. And let's have a chat with this based on our biryani image that we have earlier, right? We give a food recognition prompt. Again, the prompt looks like we'll give the context that I want to analyze this food image for a calorie tracking application. Now, please identify the food item in this image. The instruction, the context is that this is what we are going to use this. But the instruction is you have to identify the food item here. And then your input is the image that you will be sharing. And the output you want to do is provide the name of the food, a brief description, and if possible, give its ingredients or nutrition profile. This is how a decent or a great prompt looks like. Sounds good? Give me a yes or no in the chat. Are you there? Are you listening? Please give me yes no in the chat. Okay, this one, yes. Thanks for that. What about others? Okay. So the reason I'm saying this is because when you use these models, right, when you use these prompting techniques, you will see yourself that in your personal usage, you have enhanced ChatGPT a lot. And also, not even there, you will see that when you use these techniques in industry, right, while working, or when you use these techniques in your projects will go to some other extent. You will like, or you will see the difference yourself. Okay. Now we have the message. The message is in this format. Again, coming back to how do I know that this is the format I need to give? On a day one, we have a discussion that you can go to documentation, read the documentation, and based on that documentation, you will see this, or you will have these options. But yeah, now I know that this is how I need to give a message. Message, the role will be user. We have talked about role, system messages, all those them in our day one. The role is users, and in the content, you are saying there are two types of content I want to give. Again, what does content means? When you talk with ChatGPT or any other application, what you give here, this is your content. What you give as an input. So here you are saying that there are two content types. One is an image where you are giving the URL, and second is type of text where you are giving your prompt. So the prompt that we have written above, we are feeding that whole prompt here. And we are also attaching the image with our message. This is how you can do it in programmatical way. Sounds good? Any questions, any doubts till now? Okay. Then you can use OpenAI Vision, and here you can give your message. You can use your text. This was your message. You put your message here. You give some tokens. Again, we have talked about tokens. And you can say the results output here. So the output looks like you're using this, instruction was this, and this is the generated text. This is your generated text. The food item in the image is a bowl of curry, bowl of copper, blah, blah, blah. It gives you some description. It gives you some ingredients and everything about the dish. Now, the reason it is not working that great or it is not able to recognize it as biryani, the reason for that is model we are using. The model we are using is just a 1.1 billion parameters. When we have a bigger models, when we have 7 billion parameters model, that is when you will see the difference of responses. Right now, why I'm using 1.1 is because it is free. You are just downloading that model locally into your collab. You are putting that model into your collab, and then you are going to use them. That is the reason I'm doing it. If you are using Gemini, how I showed you Gemini in our day two, how you can use images with Gemini, there you will see it was easily telling you that this is a biryani image. That is the key difference between a Transformers Hugging Face models versus the Gemini models, how you can use them. And be careful when you are using Transformers, you have to use a GPU environment. So I'm using a GPU environment T4 here. I'm not using a CPU environment because it will take a lot of time for you to get your answer back. If you're using GPU environment, your answer will be much faster. But yeah, if you still want to use these local models or if you still want to use the lightweight models, then you can go to something called as SLMs. There is something called as SLMs. That is your small language model. So you have LLMs and you have SLMs. So can anyone tell me a name of an SLM? A very good SLM. Can anyone put it in the chat? No, Jishan. Llama is not an SLM. Llama is a LLM given by Meta. Try a Google search. Try something. You'll see something. Try searching what is an SLM. Give me some names of an SLM. Yes, Mistral can be considered again. So SLM will be based on your parameters. 7 billion is something that can be an LLM or an SLM. It has a different context. But yeah, one of the common or one of the most successful SLM is 5. So you have 5.3, 5.4. There are multiple things. 7 billion is can be considered huge, but again, sometimes it's considered small as well because if you talk about GPT has like some 300 billion parameters. So it depends. There's no distinction between how much number of parameters will be considered as SLM or LLM. But yeah, 5.3 and 5.4, there is 5.2.5 as well, if I remember. These are some of the SLMs that are very successful. Yeah. Gautam is saying small language model. Yes, Gautam. So Gautam, I was basically asking if you have any name of an SLM with yourself. How these parameters are measures. Jishandeep, I think what you meant is that how these parameters are coming against any algorithm, right? Okay. Um, have you any idea about how a model gets trained? Like, are you aware of ML, how models are trained there? Okay. So let me put it this way. I'll give you a simple explanation. Again, that explanation is just for explaining you. That is not the actual mathematics behind it. So consider it this way: you have all your internet data here, right? This is your complete internet data. Now, what you want is you want to create a model on top of it. Model is nothing but basically a gateway which will, like how you do a Google search, right? So rather than doing a Google search, what you can do here is you can use some mathematical numbers. Basically, how this whole internet data will be considered into some numbers, it will create into a model. And now you put your text, right? You do some text like, I don't know, like again, what is an SLM or something like you asked. It will go back to your these numbers. It will not do a text search, it will do a number search at the back end. So again, this is very vague. This is in a simpler context to make you understand what a model is. So basically what happens here is this is what your model becomes. And the bigger the data is given to the model, the bigger its parameters are. Because GPT has the whole internet data, that is why it is around like some billions or trillions of parameters. Now again, for a model as well, you can have as many of number as of parameters you want to have. Let me give you a little bit more concrete example. Uh, have you seen graph algorithm? Have you seen graphs? In graphs, you write something like this, right? 7x or something like this. 7x plus y, something like that, right? Or maybe 5y. Yeah, your equations, right? So a model is equal to an equation. Here, can you guess what is your weight? Is 7 a weight or is x a weight? What is your weight? And weight is equal to parameter. Weights and parameters are the interchangeable terms. So can you guess 7 is a weight or x is a weight? Yeah. So basically 7 is your weight. X, Y, these are not the things. These are called dimensions. X and Y are called dimensions in terms of model. And 7, 5, these numbers are called your weights. So in your model, you create a lot of weights depend on your input data, and these weights is equal to parameters. So when you say 7 billion parameters, that means there is an equation having 7 billion dimensions and having 7 billion of these weights. That is what your model is. So the generally as a thumb rule, the bigger the number of parameters, the better the answer is. But again, this has been proven wrong by DeepSeek. But yeah, most of the cases still this is a consideration. So this is how parameters are getting calculated. Now, how you select what number you want to do for your LLM, that depends on how much accuracy, again, some evaluation and some other techniques you select. But I hope you and everyone else got an idea, right? Give me a yes or no. What about others? You good? Yes, no, any questions? Now let's create a small program or small project. We'll obtain the number of calories basically using the Vision API. We'll basically create a calorie tracker app for us. So here, see how much detailed of a prompt I have. So this is my prompt. You are a nutritional analyst task. The context is you are a nutrition expert analyzing food images. Instructions are analyze the food item in the image and provide an estimate based on your knowledge. Input will be your image. Output, this is how we want the output. So suppose you are creating a mobile application, right? So in your mobile application, you can use this output directly to feed in your database of your application. So you have your food name, you have the serving description, fat in grams, protein in grams, and your confidence level. How much confidence do you feel with your answer? That is what we are asking GPT or the LLM. Here we can also give some notes or important disclaimers. We are saying respond only with a single JSON object containing these fields. Do not include any other text or explanations. And it can should the JSON should match exactly the names. You should not change the names based on these. So see, these are some disclaimers or instructions as well that we can give as an add-on or as a top-up to our prompts. This is my single prompt. Based on this, we'll say take this biryani image, again type as image, and in your text, take this structured nutrition prompt. The moment we do that, it has returned the value. See the returned value, generated text, food name is rice. So biryani, because we are using a model with just 1 billion parameters, it is not able to recognize it as biryani, it is recognizing it as rice. Serving description, rice of with meat and vegetables. This is the calories, fat in grams, and proteins. So see how easy it is with any AI, create any type of application. Think about the possibilities, right? With just these two lines of these hardly 10-20 lines of code, you have yourself created an application that gives you nutrition, that gives you a calorie tracker information. Make sense? Now let me give you a prompt, or let me give you a practice opportunity. You can modify, or I would say don't modify, create your own prompt to include sugar in grams information and try using the image of pizza slice. So this is an assignment or a task that you can take it as a practice for yourself. If you don't want to do it programmatically, you can definitely go to Gemini, or you can definitely go to Chat GPT or anywhere, or Azure OpenAI, wherever you want to go. You can go there, write a very beautiful prompt, write a very detailed prompt, and give any image you want. And you will be shocked to see the answers given by the LLM. Sounds good? Yes, no, what about others? Okay. Now let's use a smaller model. So suppose if you say, sir, I can't go for 4 GB model, I don't like, I don't have this much of internet, or I just want to test how things work. In those cases, you can go to transformers, you can go to vision decoder models, and you can use some models again. How I know this model is there is something called as vision base. Again, you can go to the documentation of transformers and you will get other names as well. Here I am taking a decoder model that is already trained, hosted by this person, and the name is Vision Base. You can use that processor and you can use a tokenizer. So now again, it is how you load the model into your local RAM. Basically, what it is doing it is if you are running this locally with your VS Code with Python, it will host or it will put this 730 MB of this model into your RAM. So be careful while you are doing this. If you're not using Collab, if you're doing this locally, it will quickly fill up your RAM with 730 MBs. Or if you think this is a little bit difficult, then there's another tool called as Olama, which you can use to locally host your models. Let me give you the name on the chat. Now with this, we have loaded this model. Just a very small model with 730 MB. Again, the same thing we'll do. We are going to generate a caption with this. We are saying this is the image, give me a caption with this. And here it has given me the text. But considering image visible, this cuisine most likely represent some ingredients, or it is going to get like Asian or Chinese. See, the right now we have reduced our right now we have reduced our parameters, right? And see, the accuracy of our answer has also gone down a bit. Now the answer is more generic. It is not pinpointing at even rice. What is Olama? Okay. Olama is again a tool that you can use. Like this, what we're doing right now, right? When I ran this code, what it is doing, it is downloading this LLM model and putting it into the RAM of my GPT, right? Yes or no? So Olama is a tool which you can use, or you can install it on your app in your laptop, and then you can download any model. So suppose you want to download DeepSeek, you can click here DeepSeek and you can run this command. The moment you do that, it will download a 5 GB model and you can use that model locally. You don't need to pay anything to anywhere. You can use this command in your command prompt, Olama and DeepSeek, and it will put your this model into the RAM of your laptop, and you can start using that model directly. You don't need to pay anywhere anything. But yeah, it will use your resources. So now if you want to go for bigger model, suppose you want to go for this model, which is the hosted model, right? For 671 billion parameters. 671. So then you need to have a 404 GBs of RAM with yourself. So for your projects, you can use these models. For your testing, you can use these models. And then in production, in industries, you will get options to use the bigger models. Make sense? Did it answer your question? What is Olama? So basically, it is the same thing what I'm doing here via Transformers library. Transformers is a library from Hugging Face. This is the same thing that is doing via Ola. Olama is much more simple. That's it. Okay. And with this, this is the last topic for today. How you can use Hugging Face library. So we have our Hugging Face token. Now, how to generate a Hugging Face token? This I leave it to you. Explore yourself. Explore yourself. I'm not going to spoon feed here. Feel free to practice. Feel free to try the things out. So use this token. Then there are a lot of models that are freely hosted. So Hugging Face is a platform, is an open source platform just like GitHub, where people are hosting models for anyone to use. So somebody has hosted their Llama 17 billion parameter model. Again, 17 billion, I don't want to use my RAM, right? If for 4 billion it is using around 5 GB of RAM, imagine how much RAM it needs. So I don't want to use that. What we can then do is we can use Hugging Face. Somebody has already hosted this model in Hugging Face and we can use this model. Somebody has hosted Llama Scout 17 billion parameter model. We'll use this model, will give our instruction prompt, the nutrition prompt, we'll give the image URL and see the message here. See, just with the 17 billion parameter, we are able to generate an answer that it's a chicken biryani, and these are all its descriptions. This is the calories, this is the protein grams, and the confidence level here is medium. So this is a simple code. You can take a snip, you can take a picture of this, or again, the video recordings are already available on EdiGlobe's channel. You can watch it there. But yeah, this is how you can use any model that is hosted on Hugging Face freely. You just need a Hugging Face token. They don't charge you anything for that token. And yeah, this is my LinkedIn. You have any questions, any doubts, any thoughts? Somebody's having any startup, feel free to pitch to me. Or yeah, feel free to collaborate if you need anything. Happy to answer your questions online. Let me put this on the chat. Now the floor is open for any doubts, any questions, anyone. This was the last topic that we wanted to cover today. I'll stop sharing the screen.